Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Lots to get into. We'll talk about Penn State, Michigan. We'll talk about Pat Narduzzi, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers in the aftermath of a win that got them to 5 wins, 3 losses. And here's your panel. We have Jeff Hathhorn from 93.7 The Fan. In the middle, it's Ray Fittipaldo from the Post-Gazette. Jason Mackey from the Post-Gazette, who's been a busy man and will be coming up with baseball meetings in the near future. We'll do that another day, Jason. We're not going to do that tonight because there's no time. Instead, we're going to start about, and Ray, I want to start with you on this. And what are the Pittsburgh Steelers? We see them at 5-3, and yet the numbers defy that record.
Yeah. Bob, you know, if you look at the 4 games they're going to be favored in, Cardinals, Packers, Patriots, and Colts, you get the 9 wins right there. So they're going to be on the cusp of the playoffs. I don't know what they are, Bob. I think they're a very good defensive team. Their offense struggles. If they want to win a playoff game, that offense has to take steps. And based on the first 8 games of the season, I don't see it happening now. It's going to have to be like last year. They're going to have to step up offensively in the second half if they're going to make a run, and we'll see what happens.
I look at them as being very incomplete, Ray, and incomplete with potential too. I mean, look at what Kenny Pickett's done in the fourth quarter. The defense, like you're talking about, that's all very promising to me. I think Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., some of what we've seen from them has been really good, Pomp. But do I look at them and compare them to the Bengals and the Ravens and think they're right there with them right now? Probably not. I mean, watching the Ravens this afternoon, the Steelers are below that. They're very squarely below that. Now, I think if Pickett can solve some of those issues with Deontay Johnson back, and can the receiving core finally mesh once George Pickens is a little bit more productive, they found some stuff for him, get some guys back from injury, I think it's there. But right now, I still have them no higher than 3rd in their division.
Yeah, they're a fringe playoff team, and they would have to have hopes that somebody gets hurt, that a Lamar goes down, that a Burrow goes down, or that even a Mahomes goes down, like for them to advance or be any kind of factor in the playoffs. And they've got some injuries they've got to deal with. So maybe they'll start
and not
getting
a ton
healthy.
Of depth, Jeff, to be fair.
Right.
Too. I mean, if they lost a couple guys, then
exactly. We've already seen that on defense. Cole Holcomb goes out. He's one of their best tacklers.
Right.
To join Minka Fitzpatrick, one of their best tacklers, and now they got to figure out how to do that. But what they are in the fourth quarter is pretty amazing, that they outscore their opponents 42-11 in their 5 wins. So that's a good sign that they can do that. Let's talk about, you mentioned Joey Porter, Jason. I mean, obviously he's now a starter. He should be a starter. He's been targeted 19 times, no touchdowns allowed, 1 interception, 40 yards. He blanketed DeAndre Hopkins, and I guess that's their only really wide receiving option for Tennessee, but still. He needs to be that guy, and if you make him there, who's on the other side, and how would you reconstruct maybe the cornerback situation?
Yeah, the other side, I don't know if I have a magical answer to that. I mean, hopefully not Patrick Peterson. To me, he's much more beneficial in the slot, or Ray or somebody smarter can maybe find a better use for him. I know enough that I don't want him and Joey Porter Jr. seeing the majority of the reps. Been really impressed with Joey Porter Jr., though. I mean, how do you not play him, right? Or Broderick Jones, based on what he did at right tackle. I've liked that a lot. I honestly, I don't know. It scares me what they do at the other side at corner and how they're able to defend the pass. Because going back to the Ravens' point, this is a team that defends the pass really well. And to me, that's an area where the Steelers have to make up a lot of ground.
So you're saying the guy that wasn't allowed to start is the only guy you want to start?
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
that's the only guy you want out
from
there.
Not playing, right? All of a sudden,
do you
shutdown,
disagree?
Right?
And no, I don't disagree. But I don't agree necessarily also that you need to have him shadow the best receiver every time, because there's some teams.
It might not work.
And I think left is where he's worked primarily in
except
practice.
for this last game.
Right.
Yeah.
And he did a little bit of. I think maybe you see who's playing well, and you ride a hot hand, whether it's Levi, whether it's Pat, or whether it's James Pierre.
I do like Patrick Peterson in the slot. I do think you want to limit him outside. Yeah. Levi Wallace has been banged up, Bob, so that's kind of in flux right now. But when they get everyone back and Minka is back, I think you'll see Patrick Peterson move around that secondary as they anticipated when they signed him back in March.
Broderick Jones got to start. A lot of people said, well, it's about time, but they expected to be a left tackle, not right tackle. Do you think that's his job moving forward, or what happens to Chuks Okorafor? They gave him a nice little contract this offseason, but Broderick Jones looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he did too. I know he didn't grade very highly, probably because of the 2 penalties that he had.
He played fine.
But what I want to see is, do they move Dan Moore over to the right side since they have a week? Like, that was a short week. So is that just to fill in kind of emergency, let's not mess with Dan? But what we've seen a lot at camp and practice is that they flip. So I think Chooks plays. I just don't know which side he's going to play on.
You know, Chooks told us that it was a disciplinary thing. And if you look at his contract, you know, they're not going to make a move this year, but he's only a $3 million dead cap hit next season, when I think everyone anticipates Dan Moore's going to move to right and then Broderick Jones is your left tackle. So did Chooks Okorafor maybe, you know, ask his way out of a job there? That's going to be interesting to watch here this week.
In my world, I cover a lot of young guys that come up and have to transition to the major league. You know, to me, less is more. Simplify it. If Broderick Jones is an effective right tackle, I'm not moving him off of there.
At least not now, right?
At least not now.
Game,
whether it's Chooks and you know, I'm seconding what Ray is saying about it being a disciplinary issue.
He's going to play somewhere.
He's going to play somewhere. I'd keep him at right tackle. And I'm saying figure out Chooks, figure out Dan Moore. I mean, maybe you just leave Dan Moore and that's fine. But I would not move Broderick Jones based on what his performance was last week. To me, that's what you need there and have been needing.
Ray, we saw Matt Canada on the field. I don't know how much of a difference that makes. Certainly it improves the communication.
Yeah.
I imagine he's going to stay there for a while. Does it make that much of a difference to you?
You know, I think the face-to-face interaction, if you listen to the players after the last game, they talked about Matt talking to the line, Matt talking to the receivers. There was always that communication with Kenny, either by phone or, you know, via Mike Sullivan, the quarterback's coach. But I think Matt just being down there and having that face-to-face interaction helped a little bit. Was it the be-all, end-all? I don't know. But to your point, they won. They're not going to change that either.
Yeah, I mean, they won the game. Was the offense great? No, but it came up at key times. And, you know, Najee said that too, that he had an opportunity to kind of see what he was thinking and ask him a question. And I think that's big because I don't think they had that leeway across the offense with Mike Sullivan, but they do with Matt Canada.
You saw it on the opening drive, Jeff. I mean, that was the most cohesive the Steelers have been on an opening drive. I don't remember the last one. What, 2021 or something like that? I mean,
right.
Yes, absolutely. You do not mess with it.
All right, we have a lot more coming up. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jaylen Warren, who keeps getting fined, and so does Deontay Johnson. How much is too much when it comes to fines? And who is the #1 seed in the AFC right now? Most everyone would think Chiefs, but I think this panel may have a different take. We'll talk about that and more as we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.